Ciudad Juárez, Juárez City, known in the past, until 1888 as Paso del Norte, Pass of the North, and commonly referred to by locals as simply Juárez, is a city and seat of the municipality of Juárez in the Mexican state of Chihuahua. Juárez's estimated population is 1.5 million people. The city lies on the Rio Grande, Rio Bravo del Norte, south of El Paso, Texas. Together with the surrounding areas, the cities form El Paso Juárez, the second largest binational metropolitan area on the Mexico-United States border, after San Diego Tijuana, with a combined population of over 2.7 million people. There are 4 international ports of entry connecting Ciudad Juárez and El Paso, including the Bridge of the Americas, Isleta International Bridge, Paso del Norte Bridge and Stanton Street Bridge. These combined allowed 22,958,472 crossings in 2008. Making Ciudad Juárez a major point of entry and transportation into the U.S. for all of central northern Mexico. The city has a growing industrial center which is made up in large part by more than 300 maquiladoras, assembly plants, located in and around the city. According to a 2007 New York Times article, Ciudad Juárez is now absorbing more new industrial real estate space than any other North American city. In 2008, FD magazine designated Ciudad Juárez the city of the future. In 1659, as Spanish explorers sought a route through the southern Rocky Mountains, the Franciscan Friar Garcia de San Francisco founded Ciudad Juárez as Paso del Norte, North Pass. The Mission de Nuestra Señora de Guadalupe became the first permanent Spanish development in the area. The Native American population was already located there. The Franciscan friars established a community that grew in importance as commerce between Santa Fe and Chihuahua passed through it. The wood for the bridge across the Rio Grande first came from Santa Fe, New Mexico in the 18th century. The original population of Suma, Jumano and immigrants brought by the Spanish as slaves from central New Spain grew around the mission. In 1680 during the Pueblo Revolt, some members of the Tigid branch of the Pueblo became refugees from the conflict and a mission was established for them in Isleta del Paso del Norte. Other colonial-era settlements included Snuku, Real de San Lorenzo, and the Presidio de San Jose. The population of the entire district reached some 5,000 around 1750, when the Apache attacked the other native towns around the missions. The 1848 Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo established the Rio Grande as the border between Mexico and the United States, separating the settlements on the north bank of the river from the rest of the town. Such settlements were not part of the town at that time. As the military set up its buildings, the town grew around it. This would later become El Paso, Texas. From that time until around 1930, populations on both sides of the border could move freely across it. Ciudad Juárez and El Paso are one of the 14 pairs of cross-border town naming along the U.S. Mexico border. During the French intervention in Mexico, 1862 to 1867, El Paso del Norte served as a temporary stop for Benito Juárez's Republican forces until he established his government in exile in Chihuahua. After 1882, the city grew with the arrival of the Mexican Central Railway. Banks, telegraph, telephone, and trams appeared, indicating the city's thriving commerce, in the firm control of the city's oligarchy of the Ochoa, Samaniego, Daguerre, Provencio, and Cuaron families. In 1888, El Paso del Norte was renamed in honor of Juárez. The city expanded significantly thanks to Díaz's free trade policy, creating a new retail and service sector along the old Calle del Comercio, now Vicente Guerrero, and 16 September Avenue. A bullring opened in 1899. The Escobar brothers founded the city's first institution of higher education in 1906, the Escuela Particular de Agricultura. That same year, a series of public works are inaugurated, including the city's sewage and drainage system, as well as potable water. A public library, schools, new public market, the old Mercado Cuauhtémoc, and parks dotted the city, making it one of many Porfirian showcases. Modern hotels and restaurants catered to the increased international railroad traffic from the 1880s on. In 1909, Díaz and William Howard Taft planned a summit in Ciudad Juárez and El Paso, an historic first meeting between a Mexican and a U.S. president, and also the first time an American president would cross the border into Mexico. But tensions rose on both sides of the border over the disputed Chamizal Strip connecting Ciudad Juárez to El Paso, even though it would have been considered neutral territory with no flags present during the summit. The Texas Rangers, 4,000 U.S. and Mexican troops, U.S. Secret Service agents, FBI agents and U.S. Marshals were all called in to provide security. Frederick Russell Burnham, the celebrated scout, was put in charge of a 250 private security detail hired by John Hayes Hammond. On October 16, the day of the summit, Burnham and Private C.R. Moore, a Texas Ranger, discovered a man holding a concealed palm pistol standing at the El Paso Chamber of Commerce building along the procession route. Burnham and Moore captured, disarmed, and arrested the assassin within only a few feet of Díaz and Taft. The city was Mexico's largest border town by 1910, and as such, it held strategic importance during the Mexican Revolution. In May 1911, about 3,000 revolutionary fighters under the leadership of Francisco Madero laid siege to Ciudad Juárez, which was garrisoned by 500 regular federal troops under the command of General Juan J. Navarro. Navarro's force was supported by 300 civilian auxiliaries and local police. After 2 days of heavy fighting, most of the city had fallen to the insurrectionists and the surviving federal soldiers had withdrawn to their barracks. Navarro then formally surrendered to Madero. The capture of a key border town at an early stage of the revolution not only enabled the revolutionary forces to bring in weapons and supplies from El Paso, but marked the beginning of the end for the demoralized Díaz regime. During the subsequent years of the conflict, Villa and other revolutionaries struggled for the control of the town, and income from the federal customs house, destroying much of the city during battles in 1911 and 1913. Much of the population abandoned the city between 1914 and 1917. Tourism, gambling, and light manufacturing drove the city's recovery from the 1920s until the 1940s. A series of mayors in the 1940s-1960s, like Carlos Villarreal and René Mascarenas Miranda, ushered in a period of high growth and development predicated on the PRONAF Border Industrialization Development Program. A beautification program spruced up the city center, building a series of arched porticos around the main square, as well as neo-colonial facades for main public buildings such as the City Health Clinic, the Central Fire Station, and City Hall. The cathedral, built in the 1950s, gave the city center the flavor of central Mexico, with its carved towers and elegant dome, but structural problems required its remodeling in the 1970s. The city's population reached some 400,000 by 1970. Juarez has grown substantially in recent decades due to a large influx of people moving into the city in search of jobs with the maquiladoras. As of 2014, more technological firms have moved to the city, such as the Delphi Corporation Technical Center, the largest in the Western Hemisphere, which employs over 2,000 engineers. Large slum housing communities called colonias have become extensive. Juarez has gained further notoriety because of violence, and as a major center of narcotics trafficking linked to the powerful Juarez cartel, and for more than 1,000 unsolved murders of young women from 1993 to 2003. Unfortunately, partly because of widely alleged complicity of corrupt police, and perhaps even participation on the part of police and corrupt government officials and local elites, the serial murders continue and most of them remain unsolved, though the number of homicides has plunged since 2004 despite the increase of population. As a result of the murders, Juarez, along with the capital of the state, Chihuahua, has become a center for protest against sexual violence throughout Mexico. Meanwhile, many continue working to maintain a positive image of Ciudad Juárez. Songs Juárez by the music artist Tori Amos and Invalid Litter Department by At the Drive-In refer to Ciudad Juárez and its murdered women. A giant Mexican flag, Bandera Monumental, was erected in Chamizal Park on June 26, 1997.